Next up, guys, we are going to jump into lead generation. What I want to focus on is the who of lead generation. Like, who should I be reaching out to? I want to talk about the when. When should I lead generate? I want to talk about the what, meaning like what different options are there out there for me to do lead generation. I want to talk about how, like, okay, now I know all those things. How do I go about it? Like, what would you recommend? And then lastly, why? The why is pretty simple. We can jump ahead to that. What do you think the why is for why we lead generate?
Money.
Future business. Build nurse people.
At the end of the day, guys, I love talking to you and spending time with you, but I want you to be successful. I want you to be able to provide for your family. Who needs to mute? Janae. It's probably Janae. She normally uses her iPhone to get on. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Can you guys see her screen? This might, it might appear to be small. Okay. This is going to be kind of what we talk about. So the one big thing in real estate is your database. We literally just talked to people who are getting their licenses. They're not even licensed yet, about building their database. And why is that so? It's because it is our business. If you have no database, you have no business. I'll be very clear, and I want to reiterate that. If you have no database, you have no business. We have a nice resource. It's called Command. We can house every single one of our contacts. That's our database. So when I say database, that's kind of what I want you to think of. A collection of all my contacts. That's my database, and that is my business. So in theory, the more people that I know, the bigger my business should be, right? So just starting out, and the reason I'm referencing this is because it's fresh on my mind. And yet these people that are just starting out have the same exact quandary that you guys who have been in this maybe for 6 months to a year have. And that is this: how do I get from point A, where I have a small database, to point B, where I have a huge database and a thriving business? That's what we're going to talk about. Cool. So who? I'm gonna reference what we just did with you guys. Everybody get your phone out, if you're not already on your phone, and go to your contacts. If you have an iPhone, when you go to your contacts, you can scroll all the way to the very bottom and you'll see how many contacts you have. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know where that information is. Can somebody help me? Is it at the bottom probably? Somebody give me a shout out of how many contacts they have in their phone.
1484.
Whew. Can anyone beat that?
1251.
391.
How many, Brian?
391.
Okay, well, that doesn't beat it. That's puny.
Yeah.
And did you guys get a chance to see how many were in yours? How many? 70? I think I had 221. 221. Did you get a chance to see? Over 100. Okay, Chelsea? Okay, Chelsea doesn't have a number, so we're going to spitball 300. Okay, so moral of the story is that's a database right there in your pocket. Now, is it all accurate? No, Vanessa, of your million contacts that you've got, it's probably maybe it's half that you actually know and would talk to, right?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
And I'm the same way. I've got 1,200 contacts, but I know darn well half of them I don't communicate with. Well, these people may fall into this circle that you see. This circle, this is taken directly from, and I reference this a lot, the MREA book. That's the red book that Gary Keller wrote, like in 2000-ish or so. This is, as I've referenced again before, this is like the Bible for realtors, meaning it is a hand guide to producing a business that will thrive and a life that will thrive along with it. It's all aimed at having that work-life balance, doing things smart, efficient, and effectively. So if you have this book, for reference, it's on page 137, this diagram is. What we're talking about is who here. So of our phone, let's just use our phone as an example. We may have 1,400 contacts, but a lot of that might be comprised of this outside ring here. The general public who you haven't really met, maybe you just called them one time. How much business is going to come from those people?
10%.
I see heads shaking. Probably none. None. Okay. View this as a pond. Ripples in a pond, right? Your rock goes in and the entry point is where the most impact was felt. I love this analogy. The outside ripple takes a while to get there and there's not much of an impact, not much of a wave or a current created from it. So think of this as your phone contacts or your database in general. If people are not hearing from you, does it make a difference to have them in your database? Not really. The next inside ripple of the pond, or getting closer to the bullseye, the target, is the target group that you haven't met. These are people that maybe they know of you, but you've never actually met them. Maybe they've seen you on social media, but they don't know anything about you. They don't know what you do. You're just friends. Odds are you're not going to get much business from them either, right? Then you've got your met group. These are people that might provide you some value. And I say that because they know who you are. And when somebody knows who you are, and then they have a real estate need, are they more or less likely to come track you down when it's time to buy or sell? More likely. So we want to focus on these people, making sure that they are aware that we're realtors. And then you got the inner sphere. This is where the rock goes into the water, where the greatest impact is felt. They call it your allied resources. I call them in my business, my VIPs, very important people. You can call them whatever you want. Your inner circle. I don't care what you call them, as long as you know who they are. So we just shared with our three individuals here who are hopefully going to come on with Keller Williams about what they can do now to start getting their business rolling even before they test. Well, the same thing goes for you guys who have been in the business for a little bit. Have you already identified your inner sphere, your inner circle, your VIPs, your allied resources? Have you already identified them? If the answer to that is no, this is your call to action. If you take nothing away from this call but one piece, it's this: find your 50. I say 50 because 50 should lead you to a couple pieces of business. They say that for every 10 people you know, you should get one piece of business. And that can come in the form of a buy, a sell, an investment, or a referral. So if I know 50 people, that should lead to 5 pieces of business, which if you look at the average from NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 5 is about the average number of transactions the average realtor does in a year. And you're not average. So if you have 50 in your sphere, odds are you can get even more pieces of business from that because you'll be hitting them the right way. Does anybody have any questions about this piece here, the who? Yes.
How about VIPs that are not in Columbus area? Like they, let's say, for example, Cincinnati or Cleveland area or something like that.
The question,
like probably they're not going to ask me.
Sure. The question is a great question. What if you have VIPs, you're just starting out, but the VIP lives in a different part, not Columbus? So let's say Cincinnati was the example. Is there still potential for me to make an income or a commission off of somebody that lives in another part of the world?
Yes.
Brendan says yes.
Yes.
How? How so?
You can get a referral fee, or they
Yep.
might know people in the area. Yeah.
Yeah, referral fee. And so that's what we were kind of talking about earlier. So this happened to me recently. Um, I sold this person's house, and I've shared this with you guys before. I sold this person's house, and they moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. And honestly, did I kind of think my time was up with them? Yeah, in the back of my mind, like my drunk monkey was saying, "You're done with this person. You're never going to make another dime off of them. So maybe you just shouldn't talk to that person anymore." Well, I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I made a good impression on them, because they called me from Scottsdale, Arizona, a couple months later, and they said, "Hey, Josh, we're thinking about buying a house. Who do you know?" Well, a couple phone calls later, and me using Command, because we use Command here and we use the referral network that we have access to, our 100, almost 200,000 agents across the globe that work for Keller Williams. We use our leverage. I made a call, and then $2,000 later and 5-minute phone call is all it took to make it. I helped a person out that was in a different part of the world. So great question. Your sphere should be made up of whoever your biggest cheerleaders are. So let's go back to this. Your VIPs should be people that we classify as connectors. A connector is somebody who's going to shout your name from the mountaintops. Meaning, if somebody in Cincinnati says to a coworker, "Hey, I need to buy a house. I'm looking at houses." That coworker says, "Oh, I know of a really good realtor in Columbus who knows somebody down here. Let's get you linked up." Boom. Or that coworker, when another person says, "Hey, I'm moving to Columbus soon. I need to find a house." "Ooh, I've got somebody for you." Already up there. They're a connector. And then you, of course, reward those people, right? Like you reward them with inviting them to the coolest things that you're doing. Or in my business, on my team, we throw events and we throw parties and we give gifts. I guess my love language lately is quality time and gift giving, because we've been spending some quality time and giving some gifts to people who have sent us business. And you don't, the beauty of technology, you got Amazon and stuff, you don't even need to be in the same city to reward somebody, right? Just send them a thank you package. Or what's cheaper yet, a thank you note. Lead generation doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to cost any money. But this is the who. These are the who that we're targeting. So if our goal is to start with 50 in our inner circle, the people who know, love, and trust us are going to be our biggest cheerleaders. And we can focus on growing that VIP pond, then our business is going to grow quicker than if we grow these outside rings. So being really present on social media is great, but if you're not getting to know more people through it, then it's really not going to benefit your business all that much. However, if you do through social media, use it to the best of your ability to grow in closer community with people, you will grow your business that way. And the people that are on the outside looking in will start to creep towards the middle of your sphere here, or your pond. Underneath this, you see some numbers. This says touch or direct, prospect, and marketing. The outside ring, these are the people that you'll be lead generating to through prospecting and marketing. Prospecting is, cold calling. I'm trying to drum up business from nowhere, essentially. Or marketing, trying to pay for things that might get you in front of people's eyes. That's what you do to people that you don't know. To people that you kind of know a little bit, you want to put them onto what we call a campaign. It's called a 12 direct. That's what the MREA book says. 12 direct is basically 12 touches over the course of a year just to stay relevant in their mind. So it could be a newsletter. Guess what? Command just started doing newsletters, and they're pretty sweet. Or you could send mailers. You could invite them to events, whatever. But the closer these people that you once didn't know that now know you, the closer they get to being in your inner sphere, the more frequently you're going to touch them. So when you see 33 touch here, that number is actually increased to 36. We encourage our agents and myself, I'm encouraged to touch my VIPs, my database, the inner sphere, 36 times over the course of a year. That sounds like a lot, right? But if our goal is to become, what do I always say? What do we want to become in people's minds? Colgate or Crest. Why do I say that?
Coke or Pepsi.
Because they're the best of the best. When you think of toothpaste, you think of Colgate or Crest, probably. When you think of a realtor, I want you to think of me, or I want your people to think of you. And the best way to do that is to stay relevant, to stay top of mind. And you can only do that through taking action and being in front of them. Let's talk about when. So we talked about who. These are the who's. Everybody out there is a potential source of income for you. And I want to also say this. We're going to have a class April 8th on profit share. This will be interesting for you guys to hear. Profit share is where you meet somebody out there in the wild, the wilderness, and they want to get their real estate license, and they decide that Keller Williams is the avenue for them, and you're the procuring cause for that. Meaning you went out there and said, come join me at Keller Williams. I want you to learn from the best and have the best resources. They say, cool, I'm in, sign me up. They sign up, they start getting in their foot in the door. They start to get in production. They start to be great at this, and they start to sell homes. You get what's called a piece of the puzzle, or profit share. You share in their profitability. You're not taking profit out of their pocket. You're just taking profit out of the market center. So the market center makes X number of dollars. Well, that number is divvied up between people who have profit share. So April 8th, make sure you put on your calendars. It's a Thursday already. I'm going to be inviting other people to attend this call because I want you guys to make passive income. Every person that you run into, if they don't have a home buying or selling need, they might want to become a realtor. So why not talk to them about real estate? We've got some stuff in the chat here. Okay, the question was asked, can you touch a bit on what qualifies as a contact in order to get to the 100 contacts per week? And Chelsea answered it perfectly. A two-way conversation that incorporates real estate with anyone. Starbucks, VIP, anyone. Great answer. So all you need to do is infuse real estate into the conversation, and boom, you've got a real estate conversation. Good question. Thanks for asking, Brendan. All right, I'm going to stop.
Another question on that is, can you get multiple contacts from the same person week to week, or is it just one?
Yeah, I mean, think logistically. The reason for me asking for 100 is not for you to hit the number. It's for the why behind it. The root cause of why we ask for 100 is because we want to get you out there into the world meeting new people, so that going back to the sphere, you can grow your sphere. We want to have you putting more phone numbers into your phone, because the more phone numbers you have, the more business you're going to do. And so would it make sense, Brennan, I'll ask you this, to count somebody 5 times if I have 5 different conversations with them over the course of the week? Would it make sense from a bottom line perspective? No, it does. I get it. You had a real estate conversation, but the task isn't as much as the purpose. It's task versus purpose. We want to get 100 different people. And so week after week, maybe if every other week you're touching a person, then sure, count it, because you're nurturing that person. But task versus purpose. I would much rather you have 50 super fruitful conversations with somebody about real estate than to get your 100, but have them be like, hey, I'm a realtor, bye, right? Because that did nothing for you. So task versus purpose. And I want to challenge y'all to get 100. And if you can't get 100, I got to ask you why. And that's a rhetorical question. It's me pushing you to be better because I want to see you hit your goals. And the answer is not always clear. My first year, I didn't know what to do. So I went out and bought a power dialer and I started cold calling people. It worked for me, and I got my 100 contacts, and I got a couple pieces of business from it. Was it fun necessarily? I learned to enjoy it. It was a muscle that I definitely had to learn to exercise, though. Then I learned I can lead gen through throwing fun events. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But moral of the story, the 100 contacts is not the end all be all. I'd rather you have fruitful conversations with different people. Spread yourselves more thin. Okay. Good question. Thanks for asking. So next, let's talk about when. When should we be lead generating?
Every day.
Now, I heard now. I heard every day.
No, that's nice or something. Good hours.
During certain hours, I see daily. Let's get more granular. What time of day do all top producers typically spend doing lead generation?
The morning.
Brendan typed in 9 to 11 morning. Yes, 100% correct. Why would we start our day with lead generation?
So then we have time to follow up later.
So you're on their mind during the day, not getting them when they're drained from the day.
So you're on their mind so you can follow up later.
So
Good
you can get it out of
questions
the way.
or good answers.
Potentially get a showing that same day with how quickly things are moving.
Potentially get a showing the same day with how quickly things are moving. Brendan, what did you say?
Just so you can get it out of the way, free up the rest of your day.
It's your one big thing. It's your one thing. If you had to pare this business down to one thing, it's lead generation. Why not knock it out of the way first thing in the morning and get it done? And then the rest of the day, Janae says, get it out of the way. Amen. Preach. Get it done. And then the rest of the day is the world is your oyster. You can follow up with those people, or if you need to set appointment times, if you need to set showings, if you need to do marketing, if you need to answer emails, if you need to follow up on transactions, you can do that, all that after lunch. I promise you, your transaction will still be there. But in the morning, that is your sacred, holy time for lead generation. And I'm not even saying do it first thing when you wake up. You guys have been around me enough to know that I'm always going to say this. When you first wake up, start with faith, start with your family, start with improving yourself, and then jump into the business. Just like Gary Keller says, faith first, family second, business third. I can still get to my business by 9 a.m. and take care of those other two things. If I do what? Time block. You've heard the term, you guys will hear the term a lot, time block. It just simply means schedule. When I think of the term time block, it literally means a block of time or a section of time on my calendar for the day that I have positioned something into. So for instance, at 5:30 tonight, I have a time block from 5:30 to 6 that I'm going to be watching my son practice soccer. Unless it rains. And then I can focus from 6 to 7 on career night. Okay. But those things are in my calendar. Vanessa, we had a talk, and Janae, you can chime in too. We had a talk last week. What can help you with time blocks? Can anyone hear? Can anyone hear? I'm going to answer for her. We couldn't hear you, Janae. What can help us with time blocks are this device again. Everything can be done from your device. Do you all have Google Calendar? Do you guys have Google Calendar on your phone? How much does Google Calendar cost as an app?
Isn't it free?
We're playing red light, green light, and I don't want you guys to spend a lot of money. Then why not use free resources, right? So Google Calendar, if it weren't for Google Calendar, I wouldn't know where my head is at, truthfully. Okay, I'm going to show you my calendar here. I can't screen share it, but you see there's all these time blocks. They are literally blocks of time on my calendar that have specific things that I need to be doing. From 9 to 11 is kind of what we preach, but if it's 10 to 12, great. If it's 11 to 1, great. I don't care what it is at the end of the day. It's going to be whatever is best for you, but I do encourage you to do it early. Some people like to sleep in. Who likes to sleep in? The three folks who are about to test said they like to sleep in. Well, all of us realtors, we don't. We like to hit the ground running. Early bird gets the worm.
Depends on sleep in, right? Because some people wake up at 5.
Yeah. So I wake up at 5:30 every morning, and maybe that's not for you. But if, I know Chelsea's not the chipperest person in the morning, but at the same time, can you realistically lead gen from 7 to 9 p.m. at night and not piss people off? No, that's family time. That's kind of, I wouldn't probably go there. But in the morning, you get a really good success rate. So when I was cold calling, for every 100 people that I would contact, I would say 20 to 25 people would pick up the phone. That's a pretty good return. All right. So if you don't use Google Calendar, start using Google Calendar. I say that because you guys were just on our monthly meeting yesterday, and I know that Cap Partners does the same. Everything is run through the Google Calendar. So the training classes that we have, it's on the Google Calendar. Why not use that and just have one big calendar that has everything on it? And then in the morning, you can wake up and remind yourself, oh yeah, I got this, and this going on later. So I need to make sure my lead gen is protected and that's time blocked. Make sense? Cool. So we've talked about who, we've talked about when we should do it. Now let's talk about what lead generation can look like. And I want to hear you guys tell me what different methods we have for generating leads. And if you don't have pen and paper, you might want to start writing these things down because there's going to be some really good ones brought up. And if you don't have a pen and paper, I'm going to pull something up here in a second as you guys are talking. So let's just start shouting things out and tell us what lead gen could look like.
Facebook ads.
Facebook posts too.
So social media.
Community involvement.
What might that look like, Brian? Let's pause on that for a second.
Volunteering activities. Well, a lot more pre-COVID, but you could volunteer at an animal shelter. You could volunteer through your church or religious organization. You could volunteer like I do at mountain biking and cycling events, things like that. There's also joining Facebook groups for your hobbies. Meet new people that way. That's adding to your sphere. So I'm going to be joining more like hiking groups this year and outdoors groups, trying to, meet more people and, get that brand going as well.
To piggyback off that, there could also be like community groups. So me and Jeanette spoke about joining, some of the community group meetings and finding out about the communities and getting that information, and then you're getting in front of the people. So you have different relationships that way with officials and etc.
Also, condo associations and homeowners associations where you live. If the people in the development where you live know you're a realtor, they could be more likely to call you. It's a good way to meet your neighbors.
I'm actually on our board. That's what I did it mainly for. It's just so they see my name when we do the HOA, if anybody asks any questions, so you become that resource.
Right.
Those Facebook community groups are also great for just scrolling through. A lot of people post on there about looking for houses, questions about preparing to sell. I usually once a week just search through those and send a direct message to anyone that has posted. I would say like 8 out of 10 times I do get a response. It's not always a positive response. It's a, hey, thanks, but we're taken care of, or more questions. But I try to do that like once a week, just search through those groups and look for those posts.
Can you take a second and share the golden letter?
Yeah.
This is a great lead generating opportunity. Listen up.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to sit in a buyer's agent mastermind class on Tuesday. It was packed full of a lot of great information, but one of the things that stuck out to me was the golden letter. And this stuck out to me because I have a couple of clients in particular that I'm gonna try go this avenue and see if I can get some results. But the golden letter is, and it can be super simple. We got examples of really simple ones. We got examples of ones that are really in depth with a lot of detail. But essentially it's just, I have a buyer that wants to live in this neighborhood. Would you consider selling your home? Is essentially all it is. And you can door knock with these letters, or you can do it as mailers, and it's just targeting an area and seeing if you can't find a home for your buyer within that community that they're interested in. That's currently off market, but usually if there's a house for sale in a neighborhood, there are other people that see that and are interested in possibly listing their house. One girl spoke to it and she said she does it weekly and she only does 20 letters a week. And she's getting 1 to 5% conversion on it. So, I mean, that's huge to only have to do 20 letters a week and get that kind of conversion. It just takes a little bit more of targeting where exactly your clients want to be. Like I said, I have one client who's very, very specific about what neighborhood she wants to be in. And we've been working together for a long time. So I reached out to her this morning and she said she loves the idea. Let's do it. So that's going to be my first project area. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, it can be super simple or it can be in depth. One of the in-depth ones we saw was about a child graduating and they're downsizing and they really want to be in this community. And it went into a lot more detail. But one of the things they also said is if you're doing it as a mailer or as like a card, to use colored envelopes, because a lot of times when people get their mail, they see a white envelope, it's usually a bill or something of no importance. A colored envelope will catch their attention. They're more likely to open it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. There's a ton of lead generating avenues to go down. I'm partial to the free ones or the ones that don't cost a lot. How much money is that going to cost you? $10
maybe, yeah.
For envelopes and the stationery?
Yeah.
Business cards you probably already have, and those are cheap too. So really what the cost is going to be is time and energy. Well, I like that better because it doesn't drain my bank account.
Another no cost thing that they recommended was they said and it makes complete sense, and it's not something that I had really thought of, is that when you go on a showing, that you're doing yourself a disservice not to show up either early or stay late after that showing and door knock just 10 houses each way and do the same thing. I have a buyer that's ready to buy right now in this neighborhood. Would you consider selling, or at what price would you would you consider selling? I literally have a buyer right now. That doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost anything and barely even any time, because to knock 10 doors on either side, it's going to take you max 15 minutes probably, because not everyone's going to answer. And at the end of the day, you're going to find success. You're going to add some people to your database and you'll be shocked. You will be. Up on the screen are some other ideas for how to get in front of people's faces. I'm not asking you to read from the screen, but what are some other ideas or some things that you're doing in your businesses that seems to be working for lead generating?
Well, I can't say I've done it yet, but I would think like announcements, just if you do have some contacts, sending them out emails with those templates we have, something just to grab their attention. Like, I don't know, when we were in a meeting, they were discussing different holidays, including just to stay in front of people.
Like postcards to like neighbors around, just to let them know that you're agent,
Yeah.
And they can see you sometimes, so they feel like more familiar to you.
Yeah, what she's saying is that you could send postcards or mailers out to your neighborhood. It's called farming. Farming can be geographic or demographic. If there's like one of our people in coaching, she's not on right now. I think she's in another call. She said that she lives in an apartment complex and she's just sending out mail to every single person in her apartment complex. Because when you think of apartment living, maybe not everyone wants to stay in an apartment. So maybe we all go adopt an apartment complex, and maybe we hold a first-time homebuyer seminar once a quarter. And then the other parts of the quarter, we offer value, where we hold a cookout at the community pool, or something cheap like that. A cookout would probably cost you $50 to throw. And then you go door knocking, inviting people, hey, come on down. Let's have a pop and a swim and a hot dog, but don't do it out of order because you can't eat and then swim, right, moms? No? Okay. Lots of ideas. What else? I like open houses. Open houses are probably the easiest form of lead generation because people have already raised their hand basically saying, I'm interested in maybe buying a house. I'm so interested that I'm willing to walk through this one. And so when we say holding an open house, it means you're the agent in that house and you're getting everyone's contact information because as soon as they hit the door, you say, hey, the seller really wants me to get your contact information. We're doing it to protect you in case somebody was to come down with COVID or something, you know? So they sign in and then boom, you just expanded your database. And a lot of people that come through those are not represented by a realtor. So boom, you may have just gotten somebody. I've closed somebody that's come through, and also potential listings are coming through to see what their competition looks like. They might be unrepresented.
How do we go about hosting open houses for other agents? Like, how do we, put that out there that we're willing to do that?
How can we get open houses if we don't have a listing, basically? So we can, a lot of agents, myself included, I don't necessarily love or like get a ton of energy out of holding open houses. And yet I still do them because I know that there's lead generation to be had through it. But if, for instance, I had a listing coming up and maybe you had a free time frame on Saturday afternoon and I was going to hold my open house on Sunday. Well, you can just say, hey, Josh, would you mind if I held your house open on Saturday? Try and get a buyer for you. I'd be crazy not to say, yeah, go ahead. So all you have to do technically is ask for permission from the person whose listing it is. So you can actually search on the MLS for your office's listings. I would start there. If you go to the MLS, it's an actual option. Let me see if I can pull it up here. To pull up your office's listings. So I go to menu. You guys don't need to know this yet because you're not licensed realtors yet. But if I go over to search and go office listings, it'll automatically populate all of the listings from my specific office, people that I already know. So then I can just say, oh, I really wanted to start doing business in Pickerington. Well, I can click on this, find out who the listing agent is. Okay, Christy Provost. Okay, all I need to do is go track her down and say, hey, Christy, would it be cool if I held your house open this weekend? And then boom.
Closed group too. People post that they want people to hold open. I've done a couple.
The Facebook closed group is a great option too, Chelsea just said. Good question.
I'm sorry, did you say the Facebook group for the office is? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, the Facebook, each office has a Facebook closed group page made up of only the agents within it. And we communicate with each other through that. So if I had a open house opportunity, or if I knew somebody was looking for open houses to conduct and I was going to maybe be out of town, Brian, for instance, had a listing and he was not available to do an open house. So he opened it up, and I know Chelsea ended up doing that and got a prospective client out of it.
Great, thanks.
What other lead generating options are out there? What about events? So I'm going to share a personal one. So I wanted to get back into the fundamentals of lead generating on Monday. And so Chelsea and I, when we met up, Chelsea, for those of you who don't know, is on my team and we work together. We said, let's just focus on some good old fashioned lead generating. So we're doing a March Madness bracket challenge. It's something that I like to do. It's fun. And I'm infusing real estate into it because the title of the group is my real estate group name. And the password to get in is my real estate group name. So they have to like literally type in my real estate stuff to get into the group. And the cool thing is the winner is going to get a TV at the end of this. Now you don't have to do a TV. You could give away a free, I don't know, something that you already own, or something cheaper like a gift card somewhere. But it gave us an excuse to reach out to people and to generate leads. So we sat down and texted our entire database. And in one day, And in the span of about 3 hours, I would say, I texted 133 people with the question, hey, Trailblazing Real Estate Group, that's my group name, is doing a March Madness bracket challenge. You could win a free 55-inch TV. You don't need to know anything about March Madness or basketball to enter. Are you interested? We posed it as a question and didn't just offer up the link because we wanted people to respond. We wanted it to be two-way, because when it's two-way, then it counts as a real estate contact. Well, out of the 133, almost half, I had 55, and over the past couple of days, a few other people. So we'll say 60 people have responded. So I got 60 people by lead generating for 3 hours. And now I've got them suckered in, because those 50 to 60 people are now in the contest. And every single week, I'm going to update these Yahoos and say, hey, here's who the winner is right now, who's going to come up. And it's just going to be a good way for me to stay in touch with people that maybe I would have had to think of other methods to lead generate otherwise, but I'm staying in front of them, and I'm doing it through a method that I think is fun. What about groups that you're involved in? So we asked the question, are you involved? You had a previous job. Did you know people at this previous job? Yep. Those are contacts that you should be adding to your pool. And why not lead generate those people? Call them. We've talked about this before. When like you're cold calling, you don't know what to say. Maybe we're not good at small talking. We've got this acronym. It's called FORD. Does anybody remember what FORD stands for? Do you guys remember what FORD stands for? It was family, occupation, recreation, and I forget the last one. New guy, Max, says family. So if I don't know if I pick up the phone and I'm terrible at small talk. Hey, John, it's been a while since we talked. I just wanted to call and check up. How's the family doing? So F stands for family. Oh, so let's say we get through that. Oh, the kids are great. Oh, cool. How's the job going? Occupation is what O stands for. Let's say we talk about our job. And coincidentally, normally when you ask somebody about their job, what are they going to do? Ask you the same, ask you about your job. And so then you're gonna be like, oh, well, I'm in real estate now and it is amazing. It's so much fun. Boom. You can tally that person now as one of your 100 contacts that you just got for the week. R stands for recreation. So, hey, you gonna go fishing this weekend? You gonna go swimming? You got any vacations lined up? And then D stands for, I normally do for dreaming. So like, hey, when, are you thinking of retiring soon, or what are you gonna do with that bonus check when you get it? Little things like that. Get real in depth with them. Go across the line. This page here has a lot of different stuff, from billboards and magazines, which I don't really think you're gonna get a lot of return on. We've seen people at Kroger be on shopping carts. That's an option. Do you have the money to afford that right now? Maybe not. Maybe in the future. Charity work. That'd be pretty sweet, right? You're helping out the community and you're putting a good name to your business because you're there. Regardless of what you're doing, lead generation can take so many different shapes and forms. You just have to let people know that you're doing things, okay? And so phone call is the easiest way to do that. Door knocking is another great way because it's face-to-face. But if you're going to use social media, make sure you're notifying everyone of what you're doing on social media, like in the world. So if you're going to go volunteer somewhere and do a good thing, make sure the world knows it. It's not you bragging and being what do you call it? Humble brag. It's you putting a spotlight on things. And then who knows, maybe they'll be inspired to go do something great as well. There's a million different things we can do to lead generate, okay? The moral of the story, I keep saying that, is that we know who to lead generate to, when to do it, how to do it, and why we do it. Ultimately, we want to get you all paid. You have to generate leads. A lead is anybody that comes through that's interested in buying, selling, investing in real estate, or knows somebody that wants to do it. The more people we know, the higher the likelihood is that we're going to be doing business. It just
I have a quick question.
Yes, Janae.
So I want to ask you, Because what I do is like, if somebody sends me a message on Facebook Messenger, now I know you say to be aggressive with these leads, but so they'll say, hey, do you think you can help me with, let's say, commercial? And I'll say, yeah. And then I'll say, because I'll say, yes, can I get you a list to your email so you can see what's out there and what's available? And I feel like I want to do that because I know if I just say yes, then they may not, I mean, it might just be an idea, but I want to I want to turn that person into a contact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I would encourage everyone to be bold and to be aggressive. It's going to be uncomfortable at the start to like input or infuse real estate into what you're doing. But over time, I promise you, it'll become easier and easier. And it's a muscle that you just have to keep flexing and practicing. So be aggressive and reach out.
Well, like you were saying, Josh, but with when you're saying be aggressive, Sparkle, one of the things I always tell people is maybe not the email address. If you can try and get a phone number first, that's the greatest direct contact with them. At that point, when you initiate the conversation, then you get that next piece. Sometimes it's a good phone number. It's the hardest thing to get, especially with us being able to text as much as we do. I can follow up with clients that are still like 6 months out. I just check on them every week or so, and they appreciate that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to offer your value, because a lot of people say, well, I'm concerned that they're going to think I'm too pushy or aggressive. Wouldn't you be leaving an opportunity on the table to help somebody if you didn't offer? That's the way we need to approach this. You're offering value because you literally genuinely want to help them. All right, we got to go here. Last thing, some go-dos off of this call. Remember, if you remember one thing from this call, remember that your database needs to grow. Use Google Calendar, please, please, please. Use Google Calendar. Everything shows up in there. From now on, put all your calls, everything into Google Calendar. Your meetings, your coaching, like now, so that you don't confuse times. Okay, like Jay just did. Jay just got on. He probably thinks our call's at 1. Sorry, Jay. Next, protect your lead generation time. This is a go-do. Block off time. Block off time. If you're seriously blocking off time 5 times a week, I'm not asking you to work weekends, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, you get 10 hours a weekend, you should get 100 contacts. Cap Partners over here has access to a power dialer. I'm looking at getting information for that so we can get you guys access to that information as well. All right, we've got people joining us. The call is ending. Michael and Jay, I sent a note out this morning that we had to move it to noon. I sent that out on Monday, I believe, actually. So if you're not getting my text messages, let me know, because I don't want you missing stuff.
Yeah, we just had to do that broker meeting real quick, and I figured, yeah, I understand.
Okay, no problem, man. Oh, this will be recorded. I will upload it tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining in. Go Lead Gen. Go Lead Gen. Peace. Love y'all.